we are going to talk about the confidence gap and getting started before you're ready. So we're going to roll the intro and we will get into that conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So we're back. So today's episode is about the confidence gap, getting started before you're ready. I'm gonna go ahead and edit the audience on my Facebook. I know this is something we have to constantly do, but
Every single time.
every time.
Every
But
time.
repetition is the key to mastery. Fearless and I were just talking about that. Fearless has his live stream that he's been doing. He's what in the 40s, 50s now.
47. Tonight is 47. No days off. We're going for 100. Live Q&A, coaching, training. Again, just showing up. Just be ready to learn something.
Yep, get it while it's free, and that's the idea: is getting it while it's free.
You better.
And so what we'll do is, because we're trying to format this more like a show, we did the pitch. Fearless is on every night at 8:30. He's working through. He's going to do 100 days of live streaming consistently, and he's answering any all questions. And it's basically free life coaching.
Yeah.
If you want to punch in there. My business is I sell words. I want to teach you how to market your own business. I also work with entrepreneurs with ADHD, help them with some task management stuff. But really, the reason why you need to learn how to market your own stuff is so that even if you don't want to do it yourself, you at least know how to manage and supervise or hire people to do that kind of stuff. I'm a real big proponent of learning aspects of marketing, because I do think learning how to market not just products but services allows you to actually market yourself when you're out there putting out job applications and your job interviews and stuff like that. Having a marketing mindset allows you to do so much more in life than just sell stuff. And so I have my shows. I do a Friday live stream, which is a co-working live stream. You punch in on Friday around noon, bring the task you can't sort through, and I'm virtually there. We work on it together, and that's called body doubling. Basically you have another person in the room working while you're working, lets you to focus on the task, frees up your weekend. I also have the Unstuck sessions on Monday afternoon, where I talk about business, marketing, and ADHD.
Hey, so I wanted you to see this video right quick. I'm gonna do a quick screen share.
Okay.
And I think that it will. Have you seen this?
No, not yet.
All right, here, let me try to play it.
And you put up a sign. That's advertising. If you put the sign on the back of an elephant and walk it into town, that's promotion. And if the elephant walks through the mayor's flower bed and the local newspaper writes a story about it, that's publicity. And of course, if you get the mayor to laugh about it, that's public relations. But if you tell them about the various entertainment booths you'll have, the fun they're going to have, answer their questions, that's sales. And if you planned the entire thing, that's marketing. Now, let me ask you, what is marketing? If a circus is coming to town and you put up a sign, that's advertising.
So is this kind of what you were talking about?
Yep.
Like marketing it's not just this one thing. There's all of these other things that go into it. And I think that's the part that a lot of us, myself included, miss out on, because we consistently, I'm going to go ahead and stop this here. But I think that's one of the things that we get mixed up on a lot of times, because we don't understand that marketing is everything that you just said. There's a branding aspect. There's a PR aspect of it. There's all of these different aspects, but we're only just looking at or saying, when we say marketing, we mean that all inclusively.
Right.
And I think that most of us think that it just means one thing, like, oh, I need to market. Like, marketing encompasses so many other things.
Right. And so it's like, I look at it like learning a martial art, right? Like, you can punch and kick. Those are different aspects or different tactics that you can use in a martial art.
Right.
The entire martial art, the entire art form around the philosophy of combat, the philosophy of engagement, how you chain the moves together, that's the marketing. So, promotion, sales, all that stuff, ads, advertising, these are all tools in the giant toolbox of marketing.
Right.
And so that's how I view it. And I think people misattribute, when you see it on social media, people really dive into the ad side of things. And that's only one end of it, because, and it's starting to get exposed now. And this is kind of a sidebar, but it does tie into what we're talking about. Um, it's starting to get exposed now because people are starting to see on social media the content that people really engage with is still organic. It used to be the game is you would pay to create an ad and then the ad would do numbers. But now, since there's so many people paying those same dollars for the ads, it's more expensive to run paid ads. What's more valuable is creating something that speaks to somebody, or somebody can engage with, or somebody can actually use or entertain them in some way, shape, or form. It spreads organically, and then after you get an organic audience behind it, then you boost it out and pay for it and make it into an ad. But,
Is
right?
that what the evergreen thing is? When people keep talking about, let's evergreen this thing, is that the kind of that aspect that you're talking about?
Kind of, sort of. Evergreen content is basically, like, the way I view it, and it could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But when I see evergreen content, is basically, stuff that somebody's always going to engage with, something that somebody's always going to connect with. But also, me and you are creating evergreen content because we jump on this live stream for a couple hours every Tuesday morning, and then I'm able to go through and chop our side conversations, our smaller conversations, up into posts for social media and blast it out. And
Okay.
so I always have a source, I always have a place to get our conversations to push what we do. And so that's how I kind of view it. But evergreen content and stuff that always connects with somebody no matter what. That's why Mr. Beast is so damn big, bro. Like, he does the most insipid stuff ever. Like, but it draws people in because it's entertaining on some level. I was joking earlier this week. People have been talking about the one gorilla versus 100 men argument. And I say, hey, that's a Mr. Beast video idea, bro. Like, we got 100 men and one angry gorilla. And so we're going to see if the 100 men can beat the one angry gorilla. And then he sets up a camera, records it, puts a bunch of jump cuts and edits in it. That thing will do 600 million views in a week. But he creates content that is engaging. I think it's stupid, but it traps my kids. My son was down the Mr. Beast rabbit hole, and that's kind of what it is. It's content that's relatable, and you could consume it no matter what. It's not time limited. And so a lot of YouTube channels are built on content that you can binge, but also go back and listen to. So,
okay.
And so that's kind of that's what that is. So the conversation is, we're talking about the confidence gap. Okay. And Fearless and I can go on and on about this. And so we're going to go on and on about this because a lot of times when we make plans, right? Like, before we get started, before we initiate the thing, there's a human thing in our brain that wants our rollout to be perfect so we don't look bad, right? What that turns into is a game for some people because they're always in the game of making sure everything's pixel perfect, and they never start because they never get the reps in. They never turn on the camera and get started, or write the blog post or get started, or launch the business and get started, because they're waiting for the conditions to be perfect. And they're waiting for a level of mastery that won't come because they haven't done a damn thing yet.
Right.
And so we use confidence as, I almost want to say we use confidence as a shield to protect us from actual action, from taking the first step, because we want it to be perfect. And
Okay, say that one more time. So you said that. So do you think that we use confidence as a shield
yeah,
in order to not take
yeah,
action?
because it's comfortable. Listen, it's comfortable sitting in the luxury room of all your ideas and all your dreams and aspirations, right? Sitting in that imaginary place where all these things that you're dreaming of are working and imagining it, right? That's a very comfortable place to be because you're imagining the life that you want. That's really soothing. You have to get your ass off the couch and actually go make the thing, and that's where it gets messy. And so you go from the comfort of planning to the discomfort of doing. And a lot of people over plan because it's more comfortable to plan. And then you come up with all kinds of contingency. You can lie to yourself and say, oh man, well, I'm just coming up with a contingency just in case this happens. And I'm trying to create a plan B and C for this and a plan XY for this. And you get locked into this constant planning.
Okay.
And you never do a damn thing.
Yep.
And it just sits there. And so, like, for those that remember, about a month ago, Fearless and I had the challenge to write a book. And I was sitting in my over analysis phase, and I'm like, okay, I got so many different ideas I can write the book about, and blah, blah, blah. And then something comes to me and says, well, you do own a basketball training business. Why don't you just write a book about training methods?
That's it.
And so I wrote a book about training methods. I did that in one day.
That's it.
And rolled it out there. And so I was trapped in the comfort of planning.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times people want things to be 100% before they take the first step. If you're, this is something I will steal from Louis C.K. And he said this before he ended up getting himself canceled for being a weirdo.
He wasn't being weird. I mean, he put it out there that, hey, this is what I'm into.
Yeah.
Or whatever. She took it somewhere that, I mean, whatever's whatever. And again, if you're not into it, say, nah, I'm cool on that. And he would have been cool with it.
The weirdo part comes from kind of trapping people in the room with him.
He's all right.
That's what got him. That's what got him out the paint. You can't listen. It comes to there's a part where you when you get to the exposure piece, like you're not giving somebody consent, you're removing their consent because they may not want to see all that.
Right. Correct. I'll give you that.
But one of the things he said is if you're 60% on something, go forward. Because you're not going to get any more certain than that.
This book here, I don't know why I keep keeping it on here. We Need Your Art, written by Amy McNee. There was a gentleman in here who was talking about 80%. Here it is, man. I'm telling you. That's what I like to write in my books, y'all. Mm-hmm. He said, there's a gentleman by the name of, I guess he's an author, YouTuber, and philanthropist, Hank Green. 80% rule. Green says, everything I do, he said, everything creative I do my best to get 80% of it as good as I can make it, and I go no further. Mm-hmm. Because anything after that, all you're doing is just, you're overwatering your stuff.
Yeah.
Get it to I've done 47 presentations, 47 of them. 47. Listen to me, y'all. You could put me anywhere. I remember talking to somebody, and we were talking about doing a podcast like almost a couple years ago. And dude was like, man, we ain't really got that much to talk about. I'm like, you may not have a lot to talk about, but I surely do. And you don't really know what you're able to do until you're actually doing it.
Right.
And for years, I've been writing and creating trainings and stuff. Brian, I think I told you about this a long time ago. I've been creating all of these different trainings modules just for funsies.
Right.
And who would have known that years later, But what, almost 7, 8 years later, I'm actually doing these just to be giving them away,
Right.
right? And here's the funny thing. I started off with like 4 or 5 different presentations. I've done 47 different presentations on all kinds of different stuff. Talking to him, he's like, "Hey, let's talk about the confidence gap today." Oh, wait, that's a good one. So guess what? As we're talking about this, I'm working on another presentation for tonight, mainly because my son has he has this thing that he has to do at the school for a concert. So I don't know what time I'm gonna be back. So I have to get this done because we're about to go out to eat. We got other stuff going on today. So I need to kind of get myself together, but I could hear something and create a whole entire uh a whole entire presentation off of hearing an idea. So again, I'm not ready for most of the time. Every time I hit that live button, 70% of the time I'm not ready for what I'm going to talk about.
Right.
I'll read through my stuff one time. After that, as long as I have the gist of what the title is, I can wing it from there.
Right. And that's what
And
I'm
that's what I
saying.
do.
That's what I'm saying. I think, and we are still following our outline, which is crazy because I create these outlines, and Fearless and I just go through them without even looking at them.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm gonna say, y'all. There's a myth of being ready, right? Waiting to feel ready is it's just fear masked as preparation, right? Like there's the word of the day is overlearning, right? So a lot of times when we're like, oh, I'm gonna try this new thing, I need to learn about it. We get hung up in learning is the shit, bro. Like I love learning. I love learning stuff. Like learning is, I'm a nerd. I love learning new things. And it's really comfortable to learn new things. The scary part is implementation. The implementation sucks because it's not going to be good. And
Right.
it's not going to be good because I don't have any practice at it. But if I learn enough about it, if you learn it, well, I don't know enough, so I need to learn more before I try it. The only real the applied knowledge, because I think that there's like theoretical knowledge and then applied knowledge, right?
Correct.
The theoretical knowledge is what you build up through reading and learning in classes and all this other stuff. The applied knowledge is actually taking that framework and translating it to the real world.
Yes, sir.
That's why a lot of times you find, and I've actually coached, I'm a business owner, right? And my bachelor's degree is in human and social services administration, right? It's not marketing. It's not any other stuff. All the stuff I've learned is from going out and doing and having success as a business owner. I've been hired by people that have MBAs, which is a Master of Business Administration, for business strategy. I've been hired by people with that because the MBA is great applied knowledge. I mean, it's great theoretical knowledge. You learn all the formulas, you learn how to do all these calculations to figure out what your revenue is and all the other stuff, right? And you learn concepts and frameworks of business that works in large amorphous corporate entities. The MBA does not prepare you to run your own small business or your product or service. And so people get in these programs and think that they're going to be business owners. This is an entire another learning curve that comes along with it, because the learning piece is great. You paid tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for that degree to learn about business. But now the rubber meets the road. Now you got to go learn about business by doing the damn thing. And so I think that's where people get hung up. The perfection piece will absolutely rob you. It will kill you. It will absolutely kill your aspirations. It'll kill your dreams, because the more you learn about something, the more you learn that you don't know about something, and then it destroys your confidence.
Yep. And that's the reason why, like I told you, man, I will learn what I need to learn about certain things, and then after that, I'll just give it.
Right.
I'll talk about it, because here's the thing: 90% of the time, the things that I talk about are things that I've lived through. things that I've gone through. So if we're talking about rebuilding yourself from ground zero, I could talk about that. When we talk about imposter syndrome, I could talk about that. When we talk about success does not come with an audience, we can talk about that because
Right.
90% of the stuff that I talk about is things that I've actually done.
Right.
So we don't have to sit around and discuss theory. One of the things that I tell people is that I give you practical tools, tips, and strategies for what works. I I don't know what doesn't work because I know it does work. I can't tell you that I went through XYZ because of ABC. I may not have gone through that, but I personally know that when I went through being homeless, when I went through being jobless, when I went through being hopeless in a sense, when I went through all those things, I went through them alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes my kid was with me when I was going through it. So again, man, like I try not to talk about something that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's just me though. I can't speak for anybody else. That's just myself. So when we're talking about failure, success, and all these different trigger words that we like to use, you know, when I'm coaching people at night, one of the things that I ask people consistently is, what does that word mean to you? What does that word mean to you? And the really cool thing about our little community is that they're starting to ask that question too now. What do certain words mean? So when I talk about, yeah, I want to be successful, perfect. What does successful mean to you?
Right.
What does success mean to you? Right? I want a lot of money. Perfect. For what reason? You just want to just have it? Do you want to because you like to collect money? What do you want it for? What's the end objective?
Right.
I've taught them how to ask certain questions to bring out a certain type of mentality, not only within themselves, but for the people that are around them.
Right.
So when we talk about again that confidence gap, majority of the biggest thing that I've taught my people, and I've had to learn this myself, is that you only understand that there's a problem when you compare it to something else.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't know that it's a problem unless somebody says something to you or you compare it. God, I gotta write that. It's you compare it to something else. Go ahead though.
So, and it goes along with the idea that you don't need clarity to take action. You gain clarity through action, right? Like we sit around and try to reach this zen like state before you take that initial step, and the only thing that's going to bring things into sharp focus is actually taking the step and learning along the way. That's what the concept of this entire podcast is about. Screw up until you level up. And so, and a lot of times people want to skip the screw up stage, right? They think that they think they're going to short circuit the game and shortcut the game by not investing in somebody that's already walked the path and already screwed up and can tell you what to avoid, or not going out and getting the experience on themselves and screwing up and learning how to do it. We it's like, are you trying to preserve your ego or are you trying to be successful? Because you can't do both. And a lot of people want to preserve their ego instead of being successful. One thing that's going to make us successful, if you're watching this, wherever you are, go ahead and give us a like and follow us on the platform of your choosing. We do these every single week, and we need to grow the audience. So if you're watching us right now, please give us a like. That's our direct call to action. This is how we know that we're connected. So what I was saying is, either you're going to be successful or preserve your ego. It's not both. It can't be both. Because if you want to preserve your ego, that's fine. Stay locked in. I need to know everything before I get started. That will really preserve your ego. But do not expect to have the success that you want. And we're not just talking business. We're talking about renovating the house. We're talking about mowing the yard. We're talking about all the things that somebody hesitates on doing before they do it.
Correct.
It's too you want to be comfortable. You don't get to have the privilege of emotional comfort and and have the success of doing a thing and accomplishing a thing in real life. It doesn't work like that. You have to almost humble yourself and be okay with, yeah, this isn't great, but at least it's better than nothing.
Right.
I think people get too caught up in that shit, bro. I'm be honest with you. Like, and I see too many people that a lot of people will step to me like, yeah, Brian, I want to start a business. I got this idea in my head and this concept. Great. So what step have you take to make this thing happen? Well,
Mhm.
I'm waiting for this, and I got this book here, and I need to know a little bit more about this, that, and the third. Okay, great, but what have you done to make your drag your dream into the reality? As Peter Senge puts it, what have you done to create that creative tension? Creative tension is
Right.
the world that you want versus the world that is. The creative tension is the gap in between.
Mhm.
What are you doing to experience that creative tension?
Right.
And more times than not, it's like, well, I'm planning, I've done this, I'm taking this course, I'm taking this. I told one of the people that I'm mentoring, I told her straight up, like, you already have everything you need right now. You don't need another certification. You don't need
Nope.
another ebook. You don't need another YouTube video. You don't need another online course. You have all the tools you need to get started. You just got to get started and be comfortable with the failing.
Hey, it's so funny, my guy. I say the same exact thing to people constantly. When one of the things that we're building out the bookstore, one of the things that I told my partner was that he said, how did you figure this out so fast? I'm like, simple, I failed quickly.
Right.
And I told him, and he'll tell you, I like to fail and I like to fail quick. Like that is my objective. Think about that. Most people run away or they shy away from failing. I run towards it because I need to get my reps in as much as possible. Why do you think that almost 50 days ago I said I want to do 100 episodes for my YouTube channel? Why? Because I'm scared. Number one, I was scared. I've always been wanting to do this. I've always thought that I needed a partner. I needed this. I needed that. And again, I didn't know, right? And I just kind of I ran across a particular person who inspired me just off of a small conversation, and now we're here, and it's day 47, and I have not stopped since.
There it is.
So, and people ask all the time, like, what if nobody shows up? I showed up.
Right.
I don't, whether you show up or not is irrelevant. I have to show up because I said I would do it. Probably if majority of us consistently think that by I will only show up if other people show up, man, you done missed the goddamn point and you will always stay broke.
Right.
Always. Because the consistency is not based on somebody else. It's based on you. If you're not consistent, that nobody else is going to be consistent. One of the things that we do on my show every night is we clap. As soon as we turn on, hey, what's going on? We clap. What are we clapping for? Number one, we're clapping for ourselves. Okay? Because if you don't clap for you, nobody else will either. Second thing is that we clap to give other people permission to clap for us. Most of the time, we don't do that.
Right.
We consistently keep thinking that I can only clap for me if you clap for me. But I'm also giving you permission to clap for me. You know what I mean? And the other thing is just for showing up.
Right.
For showing up. I got 4,500 some odd friends on Facebook. But you know what? Only 1% 1%, actually no, 0.1% show up. 0.1% shows up every night. Every night. So for them, I show out no matter what.
Right.
For them, I show out. Now, if y'all want to come and see what we're doing, wonderful. Thank you. But I'm going to level up for the people who are already around me. If y'all late to the party, hey, welcome. Nice to meet you. But we already got something going. Pull up a seat. stay a little while. But
Boom.
we have to, I got to show up. I don't give a fuck if you show up or not. I show up. And even talking to my business partner, one of the things that he was saying is that, is that people love a novelty, which I agree with. Um, I mean, it's like, if people are not going to show up for certain things, I'm not showing up for certain things. I'm like, okay. I, I personally wouldn't do that because, again, what that shows is it's dedication starts with you. It doesn't start whether somebody else shows up or not. Like,
Right.
and if that's what you're waiting for somebody else to give you merit, for somebody else to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna come in. Think about all of the channels, the YouTube channels that are dead channels because it didn't hit for somebody.
Right.
They thought that they was just gonna get on here and man, matter of fact, they may have 1 million views on a couple of their channels or whatever, or videos, and then after that it fizzled out. Nobody else really came around to look at nothing. Here's the thing, and I try to tell people constantly. I've never had one. I don't know if I ever will, but a viral moment. Yeah, I think that there's some people who know how to do that. Great, whatever. But even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right.
Okay. So yes, you're gonna get some videos that do gangbusters, but the other ones may not do anything. But here's the thing, like I was telling one of my coworkers today, slow and steady will always win that race
Yep.
because people, yeah, they're gonna love you when you first come on. This that, and the other, you got a big name, but eventually, other people may not even hear of you, and that big wave done left. But everybody knows who Tony Robbins is.
Right.
Everybody knows who Les Brown is. Everybody knows who Zig Ziglar is. Everybody know who what's his name, Dennis Whaley is.
Yep.
Everybody knows who what's my man, um he was on that movie The Secret. What is that?
Oh, I don't know.
He had a cleaning company, and that's what basically made him a millionaire. Anyway, whatever his name was, um again, slow and steady, right? And you now have Eric, the hip hop teacher or preacher or whatever, and you have people like him now that came in and did the work, did the work, did the work. And so many people consistently keep thinking that you need to come in and have something huge.
Right.
No, just start the motherfucking thing.
And,
Just start.
and that's what it is. I mean, it's a bullshit story that people tell themselves that I'm going to, here's the thing. People want the privilege of feeling confident, right? But confidence isn't prerequisite. It's a result. All right.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
You get confidence by being competent in something and demonstrating
Correct.
competent. I don't trust. Here's the thing. I do not trust a highly confident individual who's never experienced the thing that they're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lift a lot of really heavy stuff in my downtime. I like to go to the gym and lift heavy things. When you are on that side of YouTube, you will find so many critics. They'll see somebody lifting, they'll be benching 400 pounds, and you'll have Mr. Critic in there talking about, well, his elbows weren't tucked all the. Come on, man. Can you do it?
Right.
Because it's the confidence of somebody that's never done anything. That is a seductive level of confidence, because
Yeah.
I could be supremely confident in things that I've never done. I could tell you what the books say about it, but until you've actually experienced it, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Hmm.
And so there's a loop that goes with it. There's a framework for confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is take action. Number 2 is get a result, even if it's a small win. Number 3 is build self-trust. Number 4 is your confidence increases. And number 5 is you repeat it.
So so one of the things that I teach every night is that everything that you just said right now is, again, from a certified life coach's standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
okay, from a reframing expert, I'm this is my shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's superfluous. Everything you just said is surface level shit. In Ags Fearless, we go deeper than that, because if you talk about, give me the top three again.
I gotta pull up my notes here.
I pull them
Is
up, pull them
take
up.
the take the action, get a result,
Perfect.
and
Okay,
you build the
okay,
trust.
okay. Hold on. So number one, take action. One of the things that we just talked about in our show is the fact that a lot of people have no idea where to even start from. So when we talk about a lot of these things or whatever, that's one of the things that we talk so much about, is we split all that stuff up. So when we talk about what does take action mean, like what are the steps for taking action? Come say hi to everybody. Chris is on there. Say hi to Christopher.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hi,
All right.
Brian.
Hey, hey.
Hi, Ryan. All right, get out of here. Talk to you later. All right.
Your basement is definitely haunted.
I'm sure it is. Thank you, ma'am. Our little ghost hunter over here is trying to catch away demons in my basement. Anyway,
Okay.
so, um, but so one of the things that we talk about is um, we talk about the actions. We have to be very specific of what that means. What action are we talking about? And that also goes back to the second thing is, what's the end result that we're looking for? So the first thing we start off with is the intention. What are we even here for? What are we doing? Right? So the who, what, where, why, when, how, and if. Because when we do start working, whatever that looks like, we already have a prerequisite of a frame.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start, we know exactly where we would like to end up, which again, stay open. And then we have this dash in between. And those action is depending on what we're talking about over here and also what we want over there. So one of the things that, like I said, man, we go so deep and we dive into each and every single one of these things, because again, that's one of the things that pisses me off when I listen to these speakers, or when I watch other coaches, which that's the reason why I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if a person, you might send me something, and if it's on some business stuff, I'll watch it or whatever, because I think I can usually use that for personal stuff. But when people send me other coaches stuff or other speaker stuff, I don't like watching it, because nine 9.9 out of 10, it's the same shit. That it just sounds good, but there's no, what you talked about before, it's theoretical, not practical.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about building that the bookstore in less than 90 days, I did it faster than that. I just say 90 because it sounds more believable. More believable. But I actually have another buddy who was there to vouch for most of it,
Mm-hmm.
because he was taking pictures all the time. And it's so funny because my boy Leo, shout out to my guy Leo Lewis, he would send me pictures he sends me pictures all the time. Just out of nowhere, he'll send me a pic of me putting up books back in the day when we were getting started and all that stuff or whatever. And I'm just like, damn, that is amazing how this dude sends this stuff to me just out of the blue, out of nowhere. So again, like that's, sorry for being so loquacious in this, but to me, like, that is, it's it's the difference between motivating somebody. Hey, what's going on, B? It's the difference between motivating somebody and being inspired by you know um by those actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like I said, everybody, they can run their beak, but when it actually comes time to doing the fucking work, they ain't showing up for it. Or they want the credentials, they want the credit, but not the For me, I need the experience, B.
Yeah.
I need to be able to, like, when I lay down at night, I want to be like, oh wait, man, I worked my ass off today. And in a year or two, I will remember what I did to get there.
Yep.
I love that. Good, bad, or indifferent. When I was homeless, sleeping in my car, I was asking the same questions. How did I end up here? Same exact way.
Well,
Just saying.
and so when I apply like the unstuck framework to that, what I normally do is I'll sit there and kind of I'll sit there and ask you, okay, what do you want? Like basically, what is the destination?
Yes.
And then kind of figure out what are you comfortable doing? What's inside your wheelhouse? Or what do you feel comfortable learning? How do we apply this to get to the destination that we need to? And then also kind of looking, because a lot of times the thing that we think is the problem isn't necessarily the problem. Or there's a bigger lever we can pull that will free the log jam for further down the river, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So we solve this one problem, it knocks out this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. And so that's kind of the framework I go when I bring in somebody for the unstuck stuff with a business or whatnot, especially when I'm looking at your marketing and things like that. I will sit down and always have a conversation and say, okay, where are you relative to where do you want to be? And then we start saying, what are your competencies? What do you have before? What did you do before you started this? What job did you have before this? Because then I can uncover, do you have some skills that you're not giving yourself credit for? My biggest thing is when it comes to taking action for me and the way my brain works, it's do a thing and see how that thing moves you down the road after the fact. Because if I get too far in the weeds, my brain will go into analysis mode, and that is the path I will go down, and I'll try to find every angle and visualize every possible outcome and stuff like that. So for me, my framework has to be step, next action. And so that's how I have to visualize things for my framework. And so it really it does depend on where you are on your journey. Sometimes people will step to me and not even have a framework or what they want to do, and so the conversation looks a lot different. What do you know how to do? What are you good at? What jobs have you held? What do you like to do in your free time? To start building a network of tools, a toolbox that they can use to create the lifestyle that they want. But I think what happens is when I say confidence comes from action, I think the false confidence comes from not taking action.
Yep.
And the real confidence comes from taking blows to your confidence and having it regulated and lowered a little bit. And now you have real confidence in what you know how to do. And I think a lot of times people get hooked up in that they like the fake confidence because it feels better. The real confidence doesn't feel as good, but it produces more, if you will. And so that's kind of where my framework is. We were talking about marketing a little bit earlier, and there's a video that ties into this that I want to show. And I think I talked to you about it, but I'm gonna show it here.
So give us it.
It's and I'll frame it a little bit. It's Tyler the Creator.
I like him.
And he's talking about marketing as a creative individual. Now, we keep saying marketing. I don't want y'all to disconnect from us, okay? Because I'm not talking about just the business of marketing and getting sales. I'm talking about the business of creating the outcomes that you want for yourself. And there are elements of marketing that tie to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it pulled up here. And then me and Fearless are gonna kind of watch it and react to it. Okay.
Got it.
But let's see. Let's go full screen. Okay, maybe not full screen yet. We're live TV, folks. All right. So we're gonna share screen. How to sell. The video is called "How to Sell Like an Artist."
All right, so today's video is about marketing. I know it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but I wanted to show you guys a YouTube clip that completely changed my perspective on what it means to market and promote your work as an artist. So it all begins about a year ago. Honestly, I can't remember exactly what I was doing. Maybe I was painting or something, but usually when I'm going about mindless work, I'll put on some background noise to pass the time. And on this particular day, I happened to stumble upon a Converse interview with one of my favorite artists, Tyler, the Creator.
Everybody make some noise. Y'all let Tyler know. Let him know.
So I'm listening to this super helpful interview, and I get to about the 40-minute mark when Tyler says something that I would have never expected from an artist like him.
It's something I'm noticing a lot with the generation of right under me. It's like, I don't know if they too cool or they don't want to look thirsty or they're not proud of their, but like they'll put a song out, they'll put it in their story, and that's it. That's it. You went through something, you wrote words down, you recorded it, you edit it, you mix it. It's a whole thing. And you mean to tell me that you're going to be passive with your own and just put it on your story once? Are you being crazy, bro?
So this falls into what we're talking about, y'all. He's basically talking about the concept, the idea of creating. And even if you don't feel 100% confident in it, you still went through the struggle of creating this thing for the world. And it ends up becoming this self-repeating thing. You don't feel confident in it. You post it once, you don't get a huge response to it. And you assume that the reason why you didn't get a huge response to it is, well, it's not very good and people don't like it. The reality is when it comes to social media, at any given time, maybe 3% of the people on your friends list see your shit. At any given time. And so you're assuming that 3% may have been busy. They may have forgot to like it or share it.
Right.
They may not be interested in it, but only 3% of the people responded to it. But we post it, and then instantly, when we don't immediately get that instant gratification, then we want to shut down and say, oh, this is a failure and nobody likes it. And so that's kind of where that's where he's going with this, man. And so we're going to keep going, but that's the concept behind that.
Hey, real fast.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that song Earthquake, one of my favorite songs. Man, he didn't write that song for himself. He wrote it for somebody else. And he just wrote it just in general. And he was trying to shop it around and nobody wanted it. Right? Nobody wanted it. So he's like, well, I'm not going to give this away. I'll just use it myself. Did it himself, literally became one of his top songs thus far.
Yeah.
So again, just like Netflix, they built it up just to try to sell it to Blockbuster for $50 million. 50. And Lord knows, like, here's the thing. I don't think that Netflix would be what it is today if Blockbuster would have took it over.
Right. Because
Blockbuster barely knew how to keep themselves afloat. So them buying Netflix, I don't think that they would have understood what to even do with it. I don't think that we'd have had shows on there like what was that one? The one with Kevin Spacey.
Oh, House of Cards.
House of Cards, and all the other shows that they've had on there thus far. I don't think that we'd have gotten those shows if it had been on YouTube. Not YouTube, I'm sorry, Netflix. So even trying to give your stuff away to somebody else, unfortunately, isn't help. It's not going to help you. And they're not going to know what to do with what you created.
Can I throw one more thing in there?
And it's your thing, of course.
I look at it like this too, man. A lot of times you talk to people at the early stage and they like, well, I don't want to release it too early. I don't want nobody to steal my ideas and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
That's a bullshit. That's a bullshit story. Um, Here's what happens. Somebody has a great idea, right? And they sit on that great idea and they plan how they're going to implement it. And they fantasize about all the how great it's going to be, and everybody's going to love them and pat them on the back. And then you're sitting there watching Shark Tank one day, and somebody walks out with the same idea that you had,
Yep.
and then you feel terrible because like I could have made all that money on it. One, you still can do it. Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean that they're executing it the way that you could execute it.
Correct.
They can't steal your drive. They can't steal your passion. They can't steal your experience. They can't steal your perspective.
It's all yours.
And so you could go ahead and run with it without having that fear. But then the other side is we think that our ideas are so amazing.
Right.
We think our ideas are so amazing
Right.
and so incredible that somebody's just chomping at the bit to steal it. Well, that may not be the case. And then that ends up becoming the reason why you never get started. Well, if I put something out there, somebody else is going to take my idea. Listen, they could steal it. If somebody steals your idea, then that means it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And you need to implement it in your own way. So
You know what's funny about that is that no, and you're very much right about, because somebody will take yourself. If you think about the Air Forces,
Mhm.
just if you go to Walmart or like Payless or something like that, I know they're not around anymore, but there are shoes that as soon as Skechers does it, I don't think it was Skechers who used to do it, was somebody else, but they would take a knockoff type of shoe and they would redesign it to look exactly like the Nike Air Force or Jordans,
Yep.
11s, 12s, 5s. Every shoe you can think of, somebody else done pilfered it, created their own likeness of it, and went out there and sold it.
Right.
Because as long as you change it up a little bit, it ain't even gotta be a whole lot. They can steal your stuff. And most people think that it's somebody like you or I that's gonna take your idea. No, it's those bigger companies that's gonna take your shit.
Right.
They're either gonna buy it from you or steal your idea. There you go.
And that's what happens. Like I said, you talk about the bigger company. A lot of times, Amazon sellers are getting hit with that, bro. That's why Amazon selling on Amazon it's not dying, but it looks different. If you come up with a novel idea, when you sell it on Amazon, you're kind of opening the door for Amazon to say, "Oh, this bag is selling really good.
Yep.
Let's see the schematics on it." Okay. We have all the dimensions and everything. I think we can make one of our own and sell it under Amazon Basics.
And you know what? I remember this lady was on there and she was selling camping bags.
Mm-hmm.
And she sold a bunch of them. People use them. They used it one time and they sent it right back.
Yep.
She was like, dude, I don't think you guys understand. You didn't do this to Amazon. You did this to us, my family.
Yeah.
So when we send this out, Amazon didn't send it out to you. We sent it out to you. So all that stuff happening, we sell through them. But if you send it back, it's not them who pays you back. It's me. So all that money, they made thousands off of them.
Yep.
Had to give all that money right back.
Yep.
And then she went on and told them, like, when you support us, you're supporting us, not them.
Yeah.
But again, when you sell on somebody else's platform, wham, wham,
That's what happens. And so that's unfortunate, but at the same time, that is also kind of impetus. You need to start your own. You need to have your own website with your own language and your own methodology on it, and not just rely on them to do it for you. Because the idea is still good. People are still liking the idea, but then if you have your own website, you can control what the return
Yeah, for
policy is
sure.
and stuff like that.
For sure.
So, all right, we're gonna get back into this
Oh
one.
yeah, let's do.
Okay, so I think to most people, this clip doesn't sound any alarms. I mean, marketing has become such a staple in our culture. But over the last 3 years, I fully convinced myself that I didn't need marketing to be a successful artist.
Here in my garage, just bought this.
I mean, the idea of following trends, viral hacking, and learning about paid ads never really made any sense to me. It felt so inauthentic. And I'd always figured that if you truly believed in your work, then why not let the art speak for itself? There's no need to pollute the internet with any more silly TikToks, right? But then why did Tyler say all those things? It felt like everything he just said was the complete opposite of what he stood for. I watched the rest of the interview more conflicted than ever. What did Tyler mean by this? What was I missing? Fast forward about a year. It's the end of 2023, and Tyler's raspy voice still never fully left my mind. His words would just randomly pop up throughout the day as I worked on my videos and scrolled through social media. Around this time, I was also working furiously to complete my final film before the New Year's.
So it became an earworm for him, right? Like this thing about stand on your own square, push your own stuff, have faith in what you create. Became an earworm for him. And it wasn't, he struggled with it. And a lot of us struggle with it. And I think a lot of times when we struggle against promoting what we're doing, it's not that I don't think it's the marketing side of things. Sometimes I think it is, I don't want too many people to see this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more people see it, the more people are going to judge what I'm doing. And they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to have to deal with, they almost pre-reject themselves before they actually get rejected. And I'm telling you from experience, a lot of times people will go through that pre-rejection before, so they don't have to deal with the real rejection or the feelings of rejection that come along with it. And you end up hiding my mom used to say, stop hiding your light under a blanket. And that's one thing before she passed that always stuck with me is she'd tell me, you're hiding your light under a blanket. And I think a lot of people do that out of comfort or fear or whatever, because we're scared to walk in our own light. And when you walk in your own light, it makes other people feel uncomfortable, bro. Like other people react negatively to it because they ain't out there standing on their own square and walking in their own light. And the feelings that we get from other people, we internalize. They feel uncomfortable, then I got to feel uncomfortable. I must be doing something wrong. That's just kind of my little tangent on it. I think that when you are comfortable, once you get comfortable with standing on your square, this is the thing that I have made, and I'm sharing it with you because I think it has value. You go through that stage of you make other people feel uncomfortable, and those are the people that show up in your comment section saying the nasty stuff to you or talking about, well, your lighting isn't right or X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that show up with that negative shit.
Okay.
I feel like when you are standing, when you finally do have that comfort in what you're doing, it makes other people feel uncomfortable, and then they project it on you, and you have the option to internalize it or just ignore it and keep going. And I think that's the process that a lot of people do. I think people have fantastic ideas, but they're scared to execute them because they're scared of the negative opinions of others.
Okay.
So,
hey, so is it still going?
Yeah, we got a little bit. I could skip ahead a little bit.
Okay, so I don't understand what he meant by. So Tyler was saying to put the stuff out there once a week, or not once a week, but put it out there constantly. Why would you just put it out there one time on your story and then leave it alone? Why would, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand. Understand? Is that a negative thing? Is that a what?
Yeah. Okay. So what he's saying is you made this, you spent all this effort making the thing, and then you put it out there on your story, and that's all you do with it.
Okay.
And it doesn't go anywhere. But you feel like, well, since I'm not doing the dirtiness of marketing or the dirtiness of advertising, I have my integrity, at least. I'm not selling this thing.
Okay.
I'm letting the art stand for itself. I'm letting the art speak for itself. Well, a lot of times when you do that, you find that your art is speaking to an audience of 2 or 3 people. You have to build a bigger audience for it. So he's saying it's a negative thing. He's basically saying they spend all this effort creating the thing and then do the minimum amount of work to share it with the world.
Okay.
And the caveat, basically, Tyler's going to say, I'm going to spoil it, but the caveat is he's like, hey, man, you spent the effort doing the thing. Stand on it, be proud of it, and keep telling the world about the thing that you did. That's kind of what it is. Don't just do it once and then go back into hiding.
Right. Okay.
So that's the concept. That's what he's talking about.
I love that. Okay. All right. Roll it.
And it's only like 3 minutes left here.
Okay.
And I had just about everything planned out. Finish editing, upload some Instagram stories, maybe even an Instagram post, and relax for the holidays. But as I completed task after task, it became clear that something wasn't right with this plan. See, this wasn't just any upload. This was going to be my first video in 5 months. And something just felt so wrong about putting so little effort into sharing a video that I poured everything into. And so as I stared at the timeline that I spent almost half a year working on, I started to take Tyler's words more seriously. Maybe it was time to fully unpack what he was saying.
Right.
Maybe I should give marketing a try. And so, as I prepared to go against every belief I had about marketing, I set one rule for myself: be as authentic as possible. So if making TikToks didn't feel right to me, then I didn't have to do it. Maybe there were other forms of promoting my film that excited me more. What if I edited a trailer, made posters, or even shared the behind the scenes of my creative process? Maybe.
So there ain't no rules to this shit, bro.
Right.
You could push it any way that you want, but a lot of times people create the thing and then say, I'm gonna let the art speak for myself, or if people don't reply to it, then it's a wash. And a lot of people give up after that first thing, where it's the mindful of, the what is it, where they have the guy who has the farm, and it's like fields full of diamonds, if you've ever heard that allegory. Where he quit right before he hit the big discovery, and
Yeah.
a lot of people do that to themselves.
Right. But then, I mean,
So
if you remember that story or whatever, because I think it was like 3 feet away from where he thought that it was actually going to be, he sold
Yep.
all the equipment and everything to this other guy who was looking at it. It's like, yeah, no, everything shifted over here. He dug in just 3 feet away from it. Here's all your stuff right here. Because again, one of the things that I teach people in our class is keep your hand up and ask for fucking help.
Yeah.
Because you don't know everything. And there's somebody around you that you probably don't even know knows more than you do about this. Right? So keep your hand up, ask for help. But yeah, no, I want to, but then he also, because he took that loss, and what did he do after? You remember what he did afterwards?
Depending on the story, I think the character drowned himself out of sorrow. The one I know is
Moses.
Yeah, the story, the allegory I heard was, the farmer had spent all this time and effort and money looking for the diamonds, and when he didn't find them, immediately, out of sorrow and desperation, he goes and drowns himself in the river, and the people that ended up taking over his farm or buying his farm They found that the diamonds were there all the time. He hadn't dug enough deep. He hasn't dug deep enough for them. He gave up before he hit his big discovery. And I think a lot of times people they take that initial feedback and think that that's the end of the world because people didn't respond to it the first time.
Right. So, hold on one second. Give me one sec. Go. Okay. So there is. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out um about the person, the guy or whatever. Here, let me see. Oh, I guess he was not a real person. Okay. So yeah, I guess it was just a story. But yeah, R.U. Darby is based on what it was or whatever. And basically, it was often used by Napoleon Hill to kind of present
Yep.
the entire point about the gold rush in California. But the other story um, about that fable, that allegory goes, is that he ends up becoming a multimillionaire in the insurance company because he refused to quit because of what he just went through. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when we do that, that that puts us on a different playing field,
It does.
like in general, because you've already had your ass kicked. What worse else can happen to you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, you're gonna be out of here. You only got 80 birthdays. That's it for the most of us. You only got 80. 80. That's it. And that's if you're lucky. Because if you're black, it's even less than that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you don't got much time here. There should be let's put it out there. There should be no reason why we should even be here talking about any of this. Not whatsoever. Now, there's always going to be philosophers in life, because that happens.
Right.
But talking about shit that you should just already be doing, no.
Well, and there's always going to be like your message or whatever you're creating, whatever your dream is, it may not be for everybody, and that's
It's not.
fine. But if you are just reacting off of what what the first impressions are, you may have found 3 people that your thing isn't for, but that doesn't mean there aren't 12 other people that you're the thing that you've created, they don't exist. You're acting like people act like those people don't exist just because they get negative feedback out the gate. And sometimes you got to plow through that and say, is this real feedback or is it just somebody bullshit?
Right.
And a lot of times people will give you negative feedback just because they're projecting the stuff that they haven't done yet on you.
Man, you know how many times my friend Jessica was like, dude, why are you doing why don't you just not do the thing for 100 days? Just do it for 15, just do it for 30, just do it for whatever. Why 100? Because I said so.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, and I know that 100 for me, like I told you before, 100 episodes to me that's syndication for a series. People get paid off of syndications. That's how they get paid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when if a person when a show goes into syndication, like Seinfeld, that's how people get paid. That's how Law and Order, people that have not been on TV for years, consistently keep making money because of something that they did 20 years ago.
Right.
Only because they got 100 seasons in or 100 episodes in. That's why I said 100. And that's why I name every one of them season this, season that, season this. So again, now I'm not playing 100. That's what you get.
Right. And I think
And
a lot of
and
go
if you
ahead.
don't want to watch it, you ain't got to.
Yeah.
I'm not for everybody. Shit, I just had somebody tell me not long ago, people don't like fucking with you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It does not bother me.
And I think
shit.
I think people get too caught up in that, especially when it does screw with your confidence. Like, I don't want to dismiss not feeling confident. I spend most of my days not feeling confident, but I do it anyway. I have
And
all
that's all it is.
yeah,
Most people that have low confidence just do the shit anyway.
yeah,
You don't think I'm not scared when I come on here right before I get on? I'm terrified most of the time. As soon as I get that button, though, it's time to go.
yep,
Scared or not, let's go. It doesn't matter. Prepare as much as you can, but just get the damn thing started.
yeah. And then whatever you screw up, that you can whatever screw up, that's your
Fix it
lesson.
later.
That's the
Fix it
lesson.
later.
Fix it later, and that's the lesson. That's what you can do to be better. So we're
Right.
gonna. I might skip a little bit ahead on this one so I can get to the moral of the story with this. We're almost done with it.
Yeah, I could even write an article or make some cool graphics too. And then suddenly, as if a light bulb switched in my brain, everything started to make sense. Tyler wasn't telling me to sell my soul. He wasn't even telling me to make viral videos or follow trends. To him, marketing is as much for the artist as it is for the audience.
Let's do this.
It's about building a world around your art. It's the colors, the designs, the videos. It's about being proud of what you made.
Because I put time and love and too much energy into this finished project just to put it on Instagram and forget about it. Like, no, promote your, because you have to be a fan of your own stuff.
That's all marketing is. It's a reminder of the work you put into your art, an extension of your passion.
Yep.
And when I look at it like that, marketing is pretty fucking cool.
So
I like that.
and so
I
it's
like that.
and that's really what the concept is, bro. Like, be a fan of your own stuff, and it's hard sometimes. Like, I don't like necessarily going back
I
and
like
watching.
that. I like that. I'm gonna start riding with that. Thank you.
So
Thank you for that.
and so I love this video, and I watch it a couple times a week because
Oh man,
the world is there to
that's
rebuff.
deep.
Yeah,
I love that.
the world is there to rebuff you,
Oh,
and it's the world is made up full of a lot of people that they take their aspirations with them to the grave and never try to make them real.
never.
And there's a lot of people,
Never.
there's a lot of people that you'll interact with that see you out there making motion and trying something, and when they're telling you, hey, be careful, hey, watch this, hey, don't do this, that's their layer of insecurity getting projected upon your actions.
Of course.
And it's a dangerous path because sometimes somebody's giving you legitimate advice, and the discernment comes from when they're giving you legitimate advice versus when they just see you out here shining and they're trying to reduce you and scare you back into inaction. So there's a balance to be said. I'm not going to bullshit you and say that there's not good advice out there, but a lot of times, especially when you're doing something that somebody else is not, you end up getting that. You end up getting their insecurities being projected on you. I'm gonna play a little bit and see if there's any more in here, but then we can get back to our conversation.
Which I turned into a bestseller and robbed the mom and pop
All right. Yep, that's it. But I love that video because I think it speaks to so much. I think a lot of us, and you can apply it to different aspects of your life because your life's work is your art, right? Like, that's what your life's work is. And it doesn't have to be necessarily artistic, but the sum total of the things you create is kind of your art and your canvas.
That's right here.
Yep.
Everybody needs to get this book. If you're a creator of any kind, you need to get this. We need your art. Period. And art is whatever you put together. Right? It's ambiguous. It doesn't mean one particular thing. It's whatever you want it to mean. Give it to us. We want to see it.
For me, creating a business, it's an artistic endeavor.
Okay, cool.
And that's kind of my canvas. But I'm also a writer, and I also do videos and stuff like that. I have other mediums that I utilize, but for me, I view it all as a creative endeavor. Right now, teaching myself some prompt engineering and learning how to code my own AIs and stuff.
Okay.
And possibly being able to monetize that and basically create custom AIs for other businesses and sell it to them. That's a creative endeavor for me.
Gotcha.
I view it as a creator, not as somebody who's producing a product, but as somebody that's making a piece of art that somebody is going to see value in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to create value for somebody. So,
Okay, I like that.
and that's how I view my world, is through the artistic lens. And it's scary because for artists, one of the worst things is feeling like somebody's rejecting your vision. But the thing I want to be able to mainline is, just because somebody's rejecting your vision doesn't mean that your vision isn't valid.
Correct.
And that's the lesson. That's the lesson I want to learn. That's the lesson I want to learn myself. So, the next part is starting messy. And I did an entire live stream about this. What does starting messy? If I say Fearless, if I say start messy, what does that mean to you?
It means, for me, it means jump in and figure it out.
Yep.
It means even if you don't know how to swim, I wouldn't necessarily jump out on the deep end because you're gonna drown. But get in where at least your tippy toes are keeping you above water.
Or throw on a life jacket.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you can jump in whenever.
Right.
Just splash. Just see what happens. You'll figure it out.
Right. What's the worst thing that can happen? You could fail. Okay, so you failed.
Right,
now you know what not to do.
Right, but technically you've never failed because you hadn't succeeded.
Right.
So you're not even failing.
Right.
You just, at this point, it's just an experiment to see what works and what don't.
It's just an attempt.
Like, that's so funny. It's like, I'm scared to fail. Bitch, you never succeeded.
Yeah.
You can't fail something that you never succeeded in.
Right.
Think about that. We cannot fail something that we haven't succeeded in. Period. It doesn't work that way. Success works. You can only fail at success once you've succeeded. You built a company. Is it making money? Yes. 2 years later, is it not making money? No. The company's failing. Yeah. Right? Can you recharge it? Can you do this on the other one, depending on what you got going on? Yeah, I guess. At that point, it's, do you want to?
Yeah.
Right? But yeah. And it's so funny how we view success and how we view failure. But I like what you said, just jump. That's what I did, is just jump in and see what happens.
And then you have a framework, like if you have early success, you have a framework that you can reverse engineer. But also if you have a framework of attempts that didn't generate the success you want, you also have a framework of things that didn't work, and you know what not to do, or what you need to optimize, what you need to tweak. And I think people, I keep going back to it, and I know it sounds denigrating. I'm not trying to do that, but I think people want to skip the failure piece of it. And the failure piece is so vital in your learning process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a key element. If you only learn from winning, then when you finally take your loss, it'll destroy you.
Man, why you think the worst place? Why do you think that they say that at a casino, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you win?
Yeah,
that's the worst thing that can happen to you at a casino, is that you win.
Yeah, especially if you're early, it's your first time. Or shoot, let's expand it. Casino, if you are stepping into the stock market and you absolutely pick a blue chip and it soars, that is the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to you out the gate. Because now you have no framework for when it doesn't work. That's why a lot of people that are doing the crypto thing now, I was in crypto like 2016, bro. I see a lot of new people jumping into the crypto thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's fun when the rocket ship is going up, but when it runs out of gas and starts crashing, that's when everybody starts panicking. I've already been through this 4 or 5 times, right. 6 or 7 times. I anticipate it's going to crash. I anticipate stock market is going to go up and down and up and down. But for people who ain't never experienced it, it's terrifying watching yourself lose $40,000 in one day. That feels awful.
I mean, but here's the thing, though, right? the one thing about that Tony Robbins talked about, and I love it. He said, and most investment groups will tell you, if you put money in an investment,
Hmm.
if your whole thing is to sit there and just keep watching it, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. Matter of
Oh yeah,
fact, take it out. Don't even put it in there, because if you need it, don't put it in there.
yeah.
Don't
Don't put in money that you're gonna need.
don't put in money that you're gonna need, because I have a thing called an acorn, and one of those investments is that it it takes your change and it invests different things or whatever, right?
Hmm.
But since I've had it, my money is usually either stayed the same or gone up just a little bit, not much. But I took like a 60, 70, $80 um thing, because I think I have like, I think there's $1,000 in there right now, whatever, right?
Hmm.
And it went down to like 850 or something. I'm like, well, what happened here? I'm looking at the thing, and the stock market at some point within the last month or so dropped considerably. I'm like, oh, I know something happened. But the one thing that I learned from Tony Robbins is that 90% of the time, it'll always go right back up
Yeah.
to what it was before. Just leave it alone. And I used to tell my aunt the same exact thing. She has stocks and all kinds of different shit.
Hmm.
And she would ask me, did you know about this stock? Do you know about this? Do you know about that? I don't know much about that. But what I can tell you is stop messing with it.
Right.
Take it off. If you need it right now, then take it out. Because as soon as she took that money out, guess what happened?
Went back up.
Those stock markets, they jump right back up. So she'd actually made way more money than she did when she took it out.
Well, an experience teaches you the difference between adversity and opportunity, right? Like if you are experienced in the game of stocks or whatever, when the price goes down, when the price of real estate drops, experienced people know this is the time to actually buy more because it's on a discount. You can buy more at a cheaper price, and then when it rebounds, you're going to have more money. The inexperienced money are the ones that end up panicking and pull everything out, and then when it bounces back up, you have to buy it back for a higher price, or you're just asked out. And I think experience teaches you that. And the only way you gain that experience is you got to bump your head a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
learn
and,
what not to do.
and not only that, but listen to people who've come before you.
Yeah.
Because that is to me one of the biggest problems I've seen that we have in certain things is that we don't like listening to other people.
Mm-mm.
Like I don't know why that is, but boy, do we suck at listening to other people. We are god awful at that. God awful. Learn from somebody else's failures, man. Why would why would you invest in something and then ask somebody else their opinion on it who doesn't who knows as much as you do, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody else who does know about it. Ask them. When I bought my Tesla, I was having issues trying to get the funding to get it. It wasn't like I didn't have the money, but I wanted my bank to pay for me because I can just buy it right straight out. Tesla, they make you go through all kinds of shit to get it because everything's on your phone. So they make you go through all of this stuff for their car. And they'll like early on they'll tell you you can either go through your bank or you can use our bank, which is like a Alliance Credit Union or something like that or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I'm like, no, I'll use my bank. I got a bunch of money. My credit's A1. So I'll just let them grab it and I'll pay a way lower, APR and all that stuff.
Yep.
Dude, I had the head like one of the top people at US trying to get a hold of them to give them money and they wouldn't take it. And funny enough, we went through this for about a week.
Yeah.
And finally, I was at this gym one time, at my gym,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked up to this lady and I'm like, hey, by any chance, do you know anybody who drives a Tesla? She said, yes, my husband and I have one. I said, listen, I'm having a darndest time with the payment thing with these people. She said, we had the same exact problem. She said, what you want to do is just go through the credit alliance thing, go through that, get it, because it'll go through in a couple minutes. Once that's done, it's done. And then you're in a little, give it a couple months, have your bank just buy it out from them, and then you're done.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, okay. So again, I didn't have the answer. I didn't know if she did. I was asking, do you know anybody
Right.
who would know this answer? Just so happened they had one. So she told me exactly what to do. I did that. And literally within 20 minutes later, it was done. Car was bought and paid for, done. Perfect.
Well, and we talk about, you mentioned a lot of times people struggle with the listening aspect and listening to somebody that knows better than they do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I could speak to it where sometimes you have to battle your own internal monologue and say it's okay to take that advice from somebody else who knows better. It's not a concession that you're stupid. It's they know better than you do. One of the things I used to tell my staff, matter of fact, I gave her the feedback. I said, you're sitting there talking to this family. I said, but you weren't listening to what they said. You were just waiting to talk.
Yep.
And so they told you exactly what you were looking for. But because you were waiting to talk, you missed what they said. And it damaged the onboarding. It damaged that initial contact with them because, subconsciously, they had to repeat something that should have been obvious to you had you been paying attention to what they said.
Right.
And so now that's another gap that you have to rebuild. And it turned out to be a positive outcome, but I catch myself, my ADHD. I and Fearless will tell you, I apologize a lot because I do interrupt people because that's what my ADHD
Oh.
my
Good.
my thoughts come out so rapid fire that I actually have to tell myself to stop and wait for a second because I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to invalidate what somebody's saying, but these thoughts come out so fast that if I don't spit them out, they're going to disappear. And sometimes they're good ones. And so even I struggle with that. I'm not listening, I'm waiting to talk thing. And a lot of people do. And that's why when you do find somebody that has a empathetic ear, not sympathetic, empathetic ear, it's such a relieving feeling.
Right.
Because they're listening for their own knowledge so that they can help you out.
Yep.
And this flows into the second to last segment we have here is imposter syndrome. And what that actually is, I can speak from experience having it, and I can speak from experience on how I address it. And my framework to address it is not going to be for everybody else's framework, because mine is still tied into the start messy and just get shit done kind of thing. And that's not for everybody. That can absolutely send somebody spiraling if they use my framework all the time. So imposter syndrome, what it feels like is feel like you're full of shit most of the time. And it's not in all aspects of what you do, but it is, you feel like you don't know what you're doing, or that you're just waiting for somebody to expose you as a fraud. And I think that happens a lot on social media because there are trolls out there that are just, their entire life's work is trying to expose frauds. And they go to war in the comment section. There's an entire genre of YouTube videos that is just exposing such and such popular YouTube celebrity. And it's just somebody that's showing inconsistencies with what somebody said. They're showing videos where somebody is being inconsistent in their message or whatnot. And the reality is, as human beings, we're all inconsistent. All of us. That's a natural human condition, is to be inconsistent with, sometimes our thinking is framed by the context we exist in. And so, but yeah, the imposter syndrome thing is huge. And I think Fearless and I can have a quick conversation about that.
For sure. for sure. So before we touch on that, I want to um, excuse me one second. I want to syndrome.
Challenges.
I want to give you guys a definition of it before we go into it, because again, as a life coach, I love definitions and I love understanding exactly what we're talking about
Mhm.
before we go into that, because I think that sometimes our definitions of things can actually predict where the conversation is gonna go. So so we'll go and I'll go to Google. Okay, so imposter syndrome. Uh, okay, we'll go meaning. Perfect. Okay, so it says by definition, um, the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved
Mhm.
or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So I'll say that again. The persistent inability to believe um, that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own effort or skill.
Mhm.
So that basically means that you faked it. Somebody else helped you get here.
Yeah.
And keep talking before I let somebody know exactly who that other person was. The one thing that we try to get people to or explain to people when it comes to this is that the best definition is this. And imposter syndrome is when I'm trying to convince myself that I am enough. A fraud is trying to convince you that they're enough.
Mhm.
That's the only difference.
Right.
That is the only difference. Imposter syndrome means I'm trying to convince me that I'm enough. A fraud is trying to convince you.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Uh, I've said it before. Con men, bullshit artists, fraudsters, they don't tend to suffer from imposter syndrome because they have no accountability for the outcomes they create.
Oh,
When you actually feel accountabilities for the outcomes that you create, that's actually a good thing. You want people to benefit from their interaction with you. When you don't have that connection and you like, I don't care if it works. Sh- yeah, they paid me. That's all I care about. That's when you're getting into the fraudster, con artist, scam artist, rip bullshit artists never feel imposter syndrome.
no.
I'll go on that. I will die on that. I'll die on that hill. People that don't feel like they are responsible for what they create, and the positive or negative outcomes, they don't experience imposter syndrome. And my imposter syndrome takes the form of a very strong negative inner voice that I've had since I could think, and constantly screaming in my ear, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, you're full of shit. Matter of fact, I just had a meeting this morning, um and it's stuff I know. I got asked to speak, to help out talking about social media and social media management because I run a social media agency, I'm running a marketing agency. And so I got asked to help out with the presentation on it, and I still had a negative inner voice, and I was talking about shit that I knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it never goes away. My version of dealing with that negative inner voice and dealing with the imposter syndrome is this: I listen to what it says, and then I do the opposite. So if it tells me I can't do something, I go out and do it.
Right.
And I don't give a damn what it is. That's not going to help some people because now you're going to be in conflict with yourself. That is the only way that I've been able to defeat it. Otherwise, it'll sit there and paralyze me and yell me into submission. And so I just go out and say, all right, inner voice, you're telling me I can't do the thing. I'm going to go out and do the thing. That's why we have a camera here. That's why we're recording. That's why I have lights. That's why I have a YouTube channel full of videos. That's why I have multiple YouTube channels full of videos. It all came from the negative inner voice. My negative inner voice doesn't like the sound of my voice, doesn't like how I look on camera. I worked college radio and I hated I hated how I sounded on camera, on mic. I worked college radio for 4 years, and I hated my voice the entire time. So that's how my shit works. That's how I get it done. And it's not for everybody. My approach is not for everybody. But if my approach sounds like it may be for you, then you probably need to give me a shout. So that's it, the imposter syndrome thing. I know you have your online gurus that say, oh, it's bullshit and blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. I think that is a very real thing. I think it's a sign of you growing out of your comfort zone.
Right, but then the other part of you still has sorry.
Yeah.
But then the other part of you still hasn't caught up with you yet.
Right.
That's what it is. It's where you've progressed, and you outpaced your growth, and you've grown, but the rest of you hasn't caught up with you yet.
Yeah.
It's just like when people lose weight, but they still see themselves as being obese. You know, that confidence level still hasn't caught up with the way that you physically look anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you might still wear baggy clothes. You might tell yourself, man, you fat as shit.
Mm-hmm.
You might still get full. You got that chitter chatter self-talk talking. But somebody who's ripped as shit doesn't probably think that way, especially if they look that way most of their lives. Their chitter chatter may be something different.
I will push back on that because I'm in that place. Some of the people that have some of the worst body dysmorphia you're ever going to find are bodybuilders that are ripped. You're going to find absolutely insane levels of that.
Right, but why though? Why?
Well, and so it builds on what you're saying, because what you're saying is true. Their image of themselves does not align with what their reality is.
That's all it is.
And
that only works because you're comparing yourself to something that's already outside of you. If you were on an island by yourself and you hadn't been around anybody else, you wouldn't know that you were fat, skinny, you wouldn't know anything.
Right.
Nothing. It's only when we compare ourselves or our successes or our dreams, goals, and aspirations to other people outside of us, then that's when it becomes our problem.
Right. And because since our eternal experience is completely subjective, we may be comparing ourselves to shadows. We may be comparing ourselves to mirages of people.
That's all I'm saying, sir.
You go on to social media and you see these people that are ripped to shreds and stuff. What you don't know is before they took that picture, they dehydrated themselves. So the muscles, the vascularity of their veins will pop out, and they put oil so that it will pop out on camera. Mm-hmm. That's not how they really look, but they're giving you an image of that, and they're fully cognizant of it.
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I know some dudes who look like that in general.
Yeah,
I know one dude who doesn't lift weights at all, and that dude's just ripped. Like that's just a God-given thing for him.
Yeah, there's a level
like that.
When it comes to bodybuilding, there's a genetic side to it, and a lot of people don't understand that no matter what they do, no matter what their diet is, no matter what isolation work they do, no matter what kind of lift they do,
they're gonna always look like that.
It's never you're going to reach a point like you got to look good for yourself and not good based on you're not going to look like this person. And you need to perish that thought. You need to accept, what can I do? What part is going to make at what point am I going to be happy with what I look like? And so I got to the point I'm like, I just like lifting heavy shit. And so that's what I do. I go in there and I'll see, ripped to shreds, and then ripped to shreds daps me up because I'm pulling weight that he can't even imagine. I had that happen a couple weeks ago. I was actually warming up on my deadlift. And bro, I'm sitting there looking at this dude over here. He killing on the bench press. Like, man, bro, Diesel, man. I'm like, hey, man, I'm trying to get to where he is. He looking at me doing my deadlift like I'm trying to get to where you are.
That part.
And so
That part.
a lot of times this dialogue, this negative inner dialogue is totally just brain baked bullshit.
Because we are comparing ourselves
Right.
to other people. Once you like, I'm in the. Here's the thing. I stand 5'8". For the most part, I'm not going any taller.
Mhm.
I am where I am. I'm okay with that. So if I need to lose weight, I need to understand exactly what my body structure is.
Right.
That's it. I would love to be like, well, I'm gonna be 5'8", but I'm gonna be 150 pounds. My body structure is not built for that. My body structure is not. I lose weight. I'm never skinny.
Mhm.
I'm ripped. Chest muscles, six pack, flats. I mean, everything is ripped. I will never be skinny.
Yeah.
Ever. My body structure is not built for that. My son's like, Dad, what happens when I'm skinny? I'm like, you won't be. You'll be ripped, but you will never be skinny.
Yeah.
Like never.
And I think a lot of people get caught up in that viewpoint. I see that with the thing that breaks my heart is watching. Well, I don't want to say breaks my heart, but it does kind of. It makes me sad to see the entire population of little, the incel dudes, right? Like, I feel bad. I do a degree. Like some of them, yeah, are super racist, and some of them are just obnoxious, and that's why they're incels. But there's another element of it where it's this self-defeating narrative and loop that the girls don't like me because I don't have a lot of money and I don't have a six pack and all that other stuff. And it's like, so what's the last real woman that you've actually made conversation with? Well, nobody. I said, you're trying to shoot your shot to the Instagram model, and you don't really want her. You don't really want to interact with her. And so
Not at all.
And so but you'll ignore the real women that you probably could be talking to because you're trying to chase down this ideal, and you might find your ideal in the real world if you would just open your mouth. But it becomes this thing where they give away their power to all this external shit. And so you're constantly giving away your power. You're constantly blaming outside factors for why your situation is the way it is. And then you never take any power, take any ownership of your own outcomes. And you let your negative inner voice make you into a damn hermit. And you never talk it. I'm gonna just throw it out there. Fearless is around the same age I am, right? There was a time where you actually, if you wanted to talk to a woman, you actually had to go up and talk to her.
Yep.
You had to go out and get her number, and you had to call her on the telephone, and do all the other stuff. And as a kid that grew up with bad inattentive ADHD and was also almost a full year younger than all my classmates, I struggled with that. But even I had to muster up the courage to actually go approach women that I didn't know if I was interested. That's how I met my wife. I walked up to her. Now we have it. All you got to do is send an inbox message and be funny. And people are struggling with that, y'all. And so what I'm saying is this: your imposter syndrome it's an invader. And it tries to keep you in the comfort of safety of not doing anything. It keeps you in the safety of planning and thinking. But really what it's doing is dragging you down and strangling the life out of you. And the whole time it's telling you it's keeping you safe. It's a defense mechanism. And your imposter syndrome that's telling you that you don't know how to do X, Y, and Z, and you shouldn't even try, and you don't know enough about that. That's not your friend. It's an overreactive safety mechanism. It's an overactive security feature of your brain. It's trying to protect you from disappointment and hurt and disillusionment. But in order to grow as a human being, you have to experience those things. You have to experience failure. You have to experience disappointment. You have to go through a little bit of disillusionment, because after that, you're a better person on the other side. Your imposter syndrome is trying to strangle the life out of you. And that's what I will say. And I think a lot of people are too comfortable believing the narrative, the bullshit narrative that they tell themselves about themselves. Because you're incredible, you're capable of incredible things. Your imposter syndrome's job is to keep you from experiencing risk, and you're not going to win anything by avoiding all the risk in your life.
Right, and not only that though, but that it does that. Which, on one hand, if you're on a dark road and you don't see any light, and you see something or you hear something coming towards you, there's a reason to be scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason to fear that failure because failure can mean death. So if it's a life and death, I totally understand. But man, if you to not do something because you thinking it's something, man, come on, dude. No,
Right.
no, we're not doing that. No. I tell my son all the time, like, bro, like I don't it's not even the grades that I care about. Right? I mean, to a point, yes, but it's really not. I get on my son for not asking for help
Me
because
too.
I need to him to get I need him to get into the habit of keeping your hand up and asking when you don't understand something. Because most people will not pick up their hand, say, "Hey, I need some help. Hey, I don't understand this. Hey, can you help me out with this?" Most people just, well, if I don't get it, I don't get it, and they just leave it alone.
Mhm.
I said, "Son, that's how broke people stay broke because ain't nobody asking for help. How do, how's anybody gonna help you if you don't say anything to nobody?
Right.
And number one, you have no idea who'd show up to help you if you ask for it. You have no idea who'd show up for you. But for the fact that you don't ask for help, bro, that's on you. And I'm trying to teach you this now at 12, as opposed to 23 or 33 or 43 years old. And you ain't got a place to live. You ain't got this, you ain't got that. Bro, if you don't keep your hand up and ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
the same way that we see people in certain families struggle, you're going to struggle the same exact way. And I'm not raising you that way. So that's going to be something that you're going to have to remember that my dad didn't raise me like this. I'm choosing this. So this is a choice. You want to struggle? That's just a choice. You want to be broke? That's a choice. Just like Tyler the Creator said, why would you put one thing that you have that you've worked on for however long? Again, I'm gonna market this lady's book.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I just put this book right here on just one time?
Right.
And then, or I may put it on for a week. And then after that, I don't say anything else about it. You can't expect me to buy your book if you only told me about it once.
Right.
I need to keep hearing it, hearing it, hearing. How many videos are you doing? And again, I'm not talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself too. Because I'm on that thing every single night, giving people tools, tips, and strategies for all kinds of different shit. But when I heard Tyler, like, no, why are you not telling more people about this? Why are you not? I'm 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 liking for everybody else to go out there and go do my work for me. Fuck that. That's on me.
Right.
So, and like I told people early on, if y'all don't know who I am, I'm not blaming you for that. That's me.
Right.
It's my fault that you don't know me. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like that's my fault if you don't know me.
well, and here's the thing, because we're talking about this stuff. I think social media does play a integral role in it, right? Because there's 2 points I'm going to make here. One, from the social media side of things, when we look at social media, we are comparing our outtakes to other people's highlights.
Hmm.
You're comparing what your real life outcomes are to somebody who staged the outcome, right? So you're comparing your life to some, like you're sitting there scrolling through Instagram, man, such and such always on vacation, bro. I need to get my money up. But then you realize in real life, you look at such and such's bank account, they trying to figure out how they gonna make rent because they don't spend all their money on vacations, traveling all over the world, and they fretting
Mhm.
about that. And so a lot of times we are comparing our outtakes, our regular day-to-day existence to what we see on social media, which is somebody's optimized worldview. You know, nobody be taking pictures of themselves on social media with eye boogers and snot and drool on their face after they just woke up. Ain't nobody posting no pictures of that. You know, they'll go wash their face, brush their teeth, and then lay in bed and take the picture. Ha, I just woke up. You're trying to frame and put your best foot forward. That's what people do on social media. And a lot of times we end up comparing ourselves to this optimized version of somebody. We compare ourselves to the end stage. If you're on YouTube or TikTok, when you are a new creator, you compare yourselves to the top YouTubers and the top TikTokers. The thing you don't understand is them people have a whole team of people editing those videos, color grading those videos, and optimizing the thumbnails and doing all this stuff. There's a whole team of network of people, and you just doing it in your spare time. But your effort is not any less valuable than their effort. They just got more resources to make the damn thing happen.
And your content is not more or less better than theirs, because again, you can have a crappy camera, background could be in shambles or whatever you want it to be, but at the end of the day, if what you said makes way more sense, I'm gonna stay and watch this stuff a whole lot longer than I'm gonna watch this nice movie, this Fox style Miramax type of production that this person has over here. Sometimes, man, it's those ones that I watched a video that I've been trying to find. Horrible visual. But what that dude was saying was so crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my word. As soon as I find that again, it was a 2.5 hour video. I'm gonna watch every bit of that shit again.
And
every bit of it.
I'm pointing out something. How was the audio? Even though the visual was bad, how was the audio?
It was amazing. It was amazing.
So
amazing.
The social media lesson that y'all could take away from this is if you're recording yourself, make sure your audio is amazing. Make sure your audio is top notch. It doesn't matter as much about your video. People will watch a video with terrible image quality. They will not watch a video with terrible audio. So that's one. Two, the phrase "every shut eye ain't sleep." You heard that one? I read that book before. I've read the book. There's a Southern anthology.
Every shut eye ain't sleep. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Southern saying. It's black folk, you know. And so what basically it means is just because somebody has their eyes closed don't mean they ain't paying attention. And things aren't always as they seem. Now I love it because it's also one of my favorite novellas called "Every Shut Eye Ain't Sleep." And there's a book of poetry about that too. But the idea is just because you see something one way or perceive something to be something doesn't mean that that's really how it is. And we spend too much time chasing an ideal instead of making our own ideal. One of the top streamers on, I think, Twitch, he's a right-wing guy, you know, but he's one of the top streamers on there. He lives in absolute squalor. And I'm not gonna lie. Squalor.
What does that mean, squalor?
His house is filthy. The last live stream I saw, there was a roach crawl. He had a roach crawl across him, and he grabbed it off and threw it on the floor. There was a dead rat there was a dead rat decomposing on the windowsill behind him.
Bro, he got to be doing that shit on purpose.
Yeah, it's got to be staged. But his thing is he has a huge following. People watch him for hours on end.
So it don't matter what it is.
And I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't really mess with dude, but he's one of the top streamers. And his looks like a bomb went off in it. And house falling down around his ears. He's a millionaire, house falling down around his ears. So what I'm saying is this, y'all. Stop comparing somebody's optimized fake existence to what your real life is. And once you realize that a lot of this stuff be special effects on social media, a lot of the live streams are special effects, a lot of the Instagram posts are special effects, even podcasts. When you see the podcast, a lot of times these cats that are doing these podcasts, they're in rooms that are just made for podcasting. The backdrops are just made for podcasting. And so that's the reality that we exist in. Stop comparing yourself to them. You're comparing your early stage stuff to their end stage stuff. That don't make no sense. And that's where the imposter syndrome kicks in. So I think we're gonna wrap. We probably need to wrap this thing up because I got a couple things I got to get done. Fearless, you said you had a busy day too. So
Yeah. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that, my guy. Oh yeah, no, I'm cool. Um, yeah, for sure.
so
So, hey, I wanted to reach out. Chris said something that was kind of tight.
okay.
He said even Einstein asked questions. Asked questions. One time people thought that he was dumb. Now he's considered labeled a genius. And you're right, Chris.
Mhm.
That's exactly what happened. Is that we label people. We think that they're one particular way, and then there's something totally different later on. Martin Luther King today is one of the people who are idolized and everybody loves and respects him. But during the 60s, people hated that dude. Hated him.
The most hated man in the United States.
I mean, next to Malcolm.
Hell,
Next to Malcolm.
one of my friends I grew up with, a white dude I went to school with, I went over his house. We both went to King Science Center. And we were on the bus, and he's like, his dad, he looked over and he's like, yeah. It's like, my dad said Martin Luther King was a troublemaker.
Yep.
And this was in the 90s, bro. He wasn't beloved like that. But that's something we retroactively applied to it.
Nope. And
And
it's so funny how we do that. It's like, yeah, he was such a great man, and this, that, and the other. Really? You don't feel that way, champ. Don't act like that.
well, it goes back to this because we mentioned that, and Chris, this is a good topic here, man. A lot of times people assume confidence. They assume that the person that's most confident is also the most competent. And that's not the same thing, bro. This person could be sitting there freestyling bullshit to you, but they can do it in a smooth way and they're not stammering over their words, as opposed to the expert over there that needs to double check the sources. They may stammer a little bit. They're trying to organize their thoughts in their brain, but because the way our brains work, we're going to sit there and listen to the smooth bullshit artist versus the stammering expert. And sometimes you got to look past that. And the question asking is the sign of an intelligent mind. Somebody who knows, they may have a wide breadth of knowledge, but they don't know enough about that thing, and they're going to ask about it, and they're not going to be shy about it because they want to make sure they're having a really informed perspective. Don't assume that not asking questions or not asking for clarity is the same thing as having knowledge. So
I
yeah.
like that. I think we close on that. That's
So
beautiful.
So that's what we got today, y'all. I'm looking at the next couple of episodes. We got some good ones in here in the mix. And once I figure out how to put up a poll, I will do that. But we have let's see where we at. So burnout isn't a badge of honor. Pricing mistakes and how to fix them. I like that one.
Yeah, I like burnout.
Okay. Then we're going to sit down and talk about burnout isn't a badge of honor next week. And so that's what our conversation is going to be, because a lot of times y'all think people, and not y'all, I do it too, think that driving yourself to the ragged edges of a burnout is something to pat yourself on the back for. And it's not. So that's all we got, y'all. Quick recap and then we out. Okay. So you don't need to be ready to be ready. Being ready is an illusion. Okay. Sometimes you just need to step out on the precipice and make the mistake and embrace what comes to you. Okay. Take a messy action and build confidence along the way. Okay. Taking that first step and learning from it is the most important thing. And if you don't have success, then you have no failure. So you can't fail at something that you never succeeded at. You just get out there and go do and take the lesson with you. And your story's still being written. Okay. But it won't begin unless you get started.
That part.
So this week, check us out. I'm going to be back Friday with a co-working live stream. Last time in between the work sprints, I was sitting there kind of talking about my story with ADHD as a student and as a professional. I'll kind of mix in that conversation and talk about being a manager with ADHD, possibly. So that's what we have coming up. Fearless is going to be back here at 8:30 every night till he reaches episode 100. Free life coaching, free streaming. All you gotta do is show up.
Yep, training, Q&A, all that good stuff, whatever. And the biggest things that we talk about for the most part is our dreams, goals, aspirations, problems, stuff like that. But we do a lot of talking about imposter syndrome and the lack of confidence and scarcity, boundaries, beliefs, values, stuff like that, or whatever. That plays a large role into a lot of that. So when you come, I'm telling you now, we get deep. So if that's the place that you want to grow at, man, we welcome you. If it's not, I would not show up
Yep.
because we're gonna do you dirty.
So if you want to get in contact with myself or Fearless, hop in the inboxes that are attached to the social media platforms that you see us on. I can help you get started and implement and get unstuck if you're hung up on the next course of action. And from a business standpoint, and Fearless can help you start with a reframe on how to change your perspective on something that you may be struggling with in your personal life. That's what we got.
And a lot of it, like we said, is that imposter syndrome, bro.
Yeah.
Not frauds. I don't deal with frauds, but imposter and putting yourself out there. That's what we're good. That's my shit. I got you.
So
don't worry about it.
If you want to reach out to us, hop in those inboxes. Otherwise, we're gonna shoot the deuce. We're about to say peace. Fearless, you have anything else? Before I roll these,
I'll see you guys at 8:30 tonight.
All right. So thanks for tuning in. We will talk to y'all next week. Peace.